The 4 foundational principles of voluntarism.
Yes, freeze!
Number 1. Self-ownership. Self-ownership is the cornerstone to voluntarist values. It is the axiom that states that each person is the highest authority over their own body and that each person has the greatest claim over what happens with it. While there are many thought processes by which this concept could be derived, a simple observation on the nature of human action makes it clear. The brain's exertion of impulses on the body demonstrates that individuals control their bodies and direct its course by a biological default. People act accordingly from the sensations of this exertion, both in inclusion and exclusion. If this axiom is accepted as to humans, it develops a solid and logical basis from which to describe the other properties of voluntarist thought. Number 2. The non-aggression principle. The non-aggression principle is the idea that, stemming from self-ownership, individuals should not initiate physical harms against others and should only use force if necessary in self-defense. As individuals have the highest claim to their body, no one has a right to use force to tell others what they can do or say with their body with self-ownership in mind. If individuals respect the bodies of others, fewer conflicts will emerge. Number 3. Maximizing individual consent. The concept of maximizing individual consent is the notion that permission to the body or property of another is predicated on attaining consent of the individual. For example, this is the difference between an act of intercourse being categorized as sex or being categorized as rape. With the norm of maximizing consent, principled voluntarists seek to enhance the accuracy of consent through specific observation, action, and words to further understanding. Looking to ensure that individuals are respected in their decisions to either join or to abstain from the activities of others is an encouraged social norm. Generalized collective consent is rejected as lacking individual conscious decision. For example, government, which is the claim to the bodies and properties of others through a single or small group of mandatory automatic rulers, is viewed as violative of consent to the extent that rule and control does not require individual assent. The accuracy of consent's manifestation is increased with proactive communication, market technology, and scientific discovery. Number 4. Minimizing the initiation of violence. Minimizing the initiation of violence against others is the idea that conflicts should be resolved as best as possible without increasing the damage and harm originally caused. For example, if a child tripped and stepped on your toe, it would be escalating violence to shoot the child in the head for this accident because it causes more damage with intent than the original action. Minimizing the initiation of violence is a conscious effort. To avoid initiating violence against others and to look for opportunities to de-escalate furthering physical harms where possible, voluntarists consider how they can ask permission and communicate their wants and needs and seek to better resolve disputes through reason rather than through physical force. As you have heard now, the core principles of voluntarism revolve around the idea of consent, its manifestation and acceptance. Antithetical to individual consent is the nature of government. Government does not seek out individual consent. They claim to own the bodies and property of others by default, with automatic mandatory rulers. Government seeks to minimize individual consent in favor of collectivism and maximize the initiations of violence by justifying theft by unilateral decree. If you want to instill a sense of voluntarist values in your life, you must start with love and empathy, as that is where voluntarism springs from. If you love yourself and you can empathize with others and how they would want to be treated as you do yourself, you can see how to start reciprocating voluntarist ethics. Thank you for watching.
And a special thank you to my fiducers, the Asian capitalists, Zach Lakowski and Crawford K. McDonald of ECM Real Estate Group. To help choose the next video I produce, join my Patreon page at the Philosopher's Boba Tea level. See you soon!
Yes, freeze!